Amir Adnani, I'm going to be speaking for all the people out there watching. What's up with $21 uranium here?
It's been frustrating to see the price be, again, very much range-bound, despite the fact that we've seen major production cuts announced late last year. You're talking about some of the biggest mines in the world, in Canada, Kazakhstan, being shut down. Despite that, the price has been range-bound. And Daniela, it's been range-bound for a good reason. I think people in the US, and especially US buyers of uranium, which represent a quarter of the market, are somewhat frozen out. Someone sitting back and saying, hey, in the same way that President Trump has introduced these tariffs for steel and aluminum that are not going to put tariff on imports coming into the US, if we see any kind of similar trade remedies or government policy enacted that is geared towards the US market, because remember, the US is consuming more uranium than any other country in the world, but only producing 2% of the US domestic requirement. This is a fascinating data point. This is a fascinating dynamic that you now have an administration in the US that's looking at this, along with everything from solar panels to aluminum to steel. And uranium could be on that same list. And I think that's what has frozen the market out. And so that $21 uranium that's on your mind, maybe everyone else's mind, has to be put into the context, I think.
Do you think this trade war we seem to be on the brink of could have any effect on uranium? Do you think the US would want to up production here?
I believe it could. And look, I don't want to use, you said trade wars, not me. And I'm not necessarily sure it has to be about trade wars when it comes to uranium, but I think that uranium is such a vital commodity. And if the US is only producing 2% of its requirements, 2%, I mean, that's basically, might as well say zero, then something has to be done. And I've discussed this at your show with you before, the fact that the US has significant uranium deposits, geologic potential and resources that have just been totally underexplored for over a decade or longer. So the fact of the matter is, this isn't about trying to prop up an industry because it's uncompetitive. It's about realignments of priorities and saying, hey, if you're going to run 99 nuclear reactors in the US that generate 60% of carbon-free electricity, shouldn't you have at least the bigger bulk of the fuel needed to run those from domestic sources?
But getting back to the supply issue here, especially with the shutdown of McArthur River,
right.
A lot of people were surprised that didn't move the price. Were you?
I think I would side with that. I think I would say when you see such a first-tier large mine like McArthur River be shut down, you would expect to see a bigger impact on the price. But again, that happened late last year. And I think the concerns and issues around the trade and national security aspects of US uranium are happening simultaneously. So I think one is having a greater effect on the other. I think that's what's driving this sort of, let's say, impasse that the price seems to be at right now.
Let's bring it home here.
Okay.
With the low price, how is UEC weathering the storm?
Well, as you know, we've had tremendous support from key players in the investment community, whether it's Sprott with Rick Rule, or whether it's Li Ka-shing with out of Hong Kong, or whether it's BlackRock or JP Morgan. We've had incredible sort of support from our individual investors and institutional investors that has allowed us to fund the working capital requirements. Daniela, last year we drilled 130 holes on US soil and expanded our US-based institute resources. No other company was drilling for uranium last year in the US. This year we'll keep doing the same. We continue to have the belief that it's anticipating where the puck is going, as Rick was talking about on our one of our interviews. And I think the puck is heading in the direction of needing more US-produced uranium. And so if we can continue at the bottom of the cycle, grow our existing resources through drilling, make more acquisitions, permit these projects like we're doing. Everything I'm telling you right now, we have done over the last 12 months. That's a great way to be positioned to lead US production higher.
Amir Adnani, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Daniela.